So hello, welcome to the Mrozinski family homestead. Obviously I'm not Shannon or Steven. I'm too good looking to be Shannon, and I'm too young to be Steven. So I've convinced Steven and Shannon to try something different with this video. I'm here at their homestead and I'm going to do a tour with them and ask them questions that I've been wondering about their property and their journey to become off-grid homesteaders, and I'm hoping that you guys will enjoy it and want to come along and see what we're talking about as well. So this time I'm going to take the camera and I'm going to introduce you guys once again to Steven and Shannon and the Mrozinski family homestead. Let's go see what they got.
All right, let's go.
All right, guys. We're just a little ways into your property and we got a little pond over here. What do we got going on?
Well, we actually dug this. It was actually just a wet spot in the ground that held water. So when we dug this, we were hoping that it was an underground spring. But when we graded the driveway, we come in here with the bulldozer and actually dug a pretty good sized hole. And let me tell you, everybody was hesitant about the hole holding water, but let me tell you, it's holding water. We
Cool.
are actually glad. This is actually, I'm actually able to pump this water out and water the animals if it need to be, or if we run too low on our water source up there and we have to use it for the animals, but we can't necessarily call it a pond, so we call it a watering hole.
Okay.
It is about 4.5 feet deep right now. When it's fully topped to the grade of the ground right there, it's probably gonna be 6.5 feet when it gets up a little bit higher than what it is now. But as of right now, it's been filling up just from the rains that we've had. And we did mark it with a stick down there, if you can see that in the camera. That's where our last area of the top part of the water was. And it came up a good 1.5 feet since our last rain. So it is gradually getting deeper as we speak, and it's not draining out. So that's a good plus with that situation, because we're not losing water and it's not absorbing in the ground. We did hit like a rock bottom here, like it was a slate rock. So the bulldozer would not push it any deeper. So, but it's very deep. I mean, it's 4.5 right now, probably almost 5 maybe.
Do you have any idea how many thousands of gallons you'll have?
I imagine we have like close to 3,000 right now.
Yeah.
3,000 gallons.
I would, just a guess.
That's a rough estimate. There's probably more.
Honestly, I don't know how to calculate to figure that out. But yeah, it's probably a good 3,000 easy.
Okay, so we've come down to the end of your driveway. We're looking back at the entrance. I've seen this develop over the last few months coming to help you guys. Can you give me a little insight on how long it took you to get this done?
Well, as far as cutting the trees, it took us 3 full weekends to actually get to this opening. And it was about 238 pine trees that we actually cut down. And then
that's a lot of stinking wood chips.
It is, but unfortunately we didn't use it for wood chips. We actually cut it up into firewood. So when coming down the driveway, you see piles of firewood on either side. And the stumps, I'm gonna let Steven tell you about the stumps, how we got those up out the ground.
Yeah, so basically we got the stumps out of the ground. We did have to pay somebody in here to come in with a track hoe to pull the stumps. And we just had them set them on the side of the driveway, because when they dry out, they'll be very light and we'll be able to haul them or burn them as we need to burn them, just to get rid of them. And all the brush and the limbs from the trees that we did cut down, we did keep them on the side of the driveway for brush piles, and we can use them. You can see a few, they are, decomposing a little bit and they're not as tall as they used to be, and there's a bunch of them going down the driveway. So we basically had it there for, you know, at our first goal, just for like a rabbit sanctuary, you know, because rabbits like to go under cover. So if we did come out and rabbit hunt, you could kick the brush with it and the rabbit comes flying out and you got yourself a rabbit. But as of right now, we didn't get our wood chipper in, and that's another thing we were going to do later on down the road. We're going to get the wood chip going and chip all the tree limbs that are laying on the edge of the driveway eventually when we're able to clean them up when time permits. Just like she was saying, it did take 3 full weekends to do, and it was me and my wife. The kids helped a little bit for the most part. Her grandfather, my brother-in-law helped, and my dad came out and helped a few times. Just moving,
Throwing logs.
Yeah, just throwing logs to the edge of the driveway area so we can actually get in here. So in with them 238 pine trees, we did have about 13 hardwood trees in here, and we did just mix in the firewood with the we just threw it all in the same stack of pile of wood. And we did leave one hardwood tree right here for a corner, and I wanted to keep that just for a shade area. When it grows up bigger, it'll cover this area up for more camouflage from the roadway, even though we don't get that much
everything
traffic.
you've described, that was step 1. You've had something else done recently, right?
What's that?
You've had something else done more recently, correct?
Yes.
What was that?
The grading.
We had
Bulldozer coming here.
we had a bulldozer come in here from the same fellow that pulled the stumps out. Her grandfather ran the bulldozer, but they're friends and we're all friends, so he dropped the bulldozer off. Her grandfather ran the bulldozer
Just
for
to
us.
lighten the load of the price.
Yeah, to lighten the load of the price per hour on the dozer.
But yeah, we had it graded and a ditch dug on this right side as you're going down the driveway, headed out. And
This is the low side. The property tapers this direction. So the water's coming from this side and going that way. That's why we put the ditch on that side. And it does work. When it rains, the water will run this way out into the edge, and at the halfway point, it'll run out towards the roadway.
Except for the other weekend, the road was flooded. This whole road was flooded. Like, I got out to unlock the gate and there was water up to almost the top of my boots at the end of the driveway down there. It rained so hard, and that's when one of the hurricanes come through.
Yeah, we did have a lot of rain. You could probably fill up a 55-gallon drum in probably not even 30 seconds. That's how much rain was coming down.
It was bad. All right.
All right, Shannon, we're here with you in your garden. You want to talk to us a little bit about why you selected this location for your garden?
Well, when we first broke through the driveway, I just picked this location. This is just what struck out the most to me. This is one of the first things that went on this property. So it just got the lucky spot. And the sun comes up over there and sets over here, so it was like an all day.
Gets full day sun?
Yes.
All right. Were there any challenges you guys had with putting your garden in?
A few. Like, the ground was really hard. I dug all 4 of these posts that are in the ground, and it was really hard. My grandfather was out here laughing at me, but I got them dug, and we did a lot of whenever Stephen was doing the corner post for me, the braces, I had a lot of sawdust flying everywhere, but you know, we got it done, and it wasn't really too hard. It was just labor.
How long did it take you guys to get it in place?
I want to say about 2.5, 3 weeks. About 2.5, 3 weeks.
Talk to me about the fencing system you have around it.
Okay, so when building this garden, the only thing we spent money on was the actual fence. The T-posts all come from my grandparents' farm. They were pulling up a fence, and so we just went and helped them pull the fence up. And for every 2 T-posts we got 1 of them. So, and and it did enough. It got the job done. But basically, yeah, I didn't spend no money on this garden except for the fence paneling, and that was maybe $300, and that's it.
Cool. Have you had any pest pressure since you've been here?
The squash bugs.
Okay. I was thinking.
That's the only thing, and it's not really a big issue I had found. They weren't really doing nothing. They weren't eating the squash or really messing with the plants. I just don't. They were just everywhere. But that's the only problems that I've had out of it.
Okay. You want to give us a tour of the garden? Show us what you got going. I understand most of it's gone at this point, but how about plans for next season?
Okay, we can do that. Let's start over here. All right, so right in here is kind of my herbs area, and that's all going to change come next spring because I'm actually going to bring another bed in here just for my herbs. This area that's kind of plowed up right here that looks like crap right now. It's gonna do my onions and my potatoes and probably some more sweet potatoes. I had a really good harvest out of my sweet potatoes. I mean, they were sweet potatoes this big. They were huge. And like down in here I have my asparagus, and they're just gonna continue to grow and continue to produce. I will not. The thing that I'm changing this year is I will not plant as many pepper plants.
Why not?
Because I had an overload of pepper plants. I had a bunch of pepper plants. See, like all these, I'm just gonna dry them. Whenever they finish turning, I'm just gonna dry them and put them away. So I'll have more than enough peppers for next year.
You're getting a close-up shot of that cayenne pepper plant over there.
Yeah, those are like loaded. I'm gonna do squash like I did last time along the fence line, but I will not plant them so close to the fence. I will actually bring them out closer to the beds, to the edge of the beds, because they get so big. Squash plants get really big. Squash and zucchini.
Yeah.
I am going to, let's go. Ooh, I just dropped some on the ground. Back here, I am going to do my tomato plants. I'm going to do my tomato plants all the way down here. I probably will stick with the Amish paste tomatoes, and
those were huge last season.
And I forgot which one it is, but I will not be doing the black currant tomatoes. They seem to bust open a lot easier, and I didn't have a good production out of those.
Gotcha.
Along the fence line, I think I'm actually going to do beans all the way around the fence line, but different types. And I still probably have beans still growing on this, but everything's looking kind of dead and dingy. Mama. There's one. Oh gosh. Steve
and I were 20 feet away, noticing that there were still some hanging, even though we picked a bunch of them last week.
I know. And like I said, I'm gonna do the same thing on this other side behind this greenhouse. This greenhouse was actually just something that we threw together. It was cheap, it was easy, it keeps the cold off the plants, and actually I think the plants are actually doing a little bit better, especially since I put the sawdust out and kind of covered them from the cold, because it has been getting pretty cold here lately.
Gotcha. They got a video out, if you didn't see it last week, guys, on how they built this. Yeah,
so but yeah, y'all need to go check that video out, because I mean it was really simple and easy. Along this backside, I'm going to do some more squash, and I might dip my toe into something different this year. Like, I don't know. I want to try to grow more in different things. I know I have a loofah bed coming in, and that has its own special place on the property, because I do not want loofah vines going all over my garden.
Yep.
I think I'm going to do all my peppers in this corner right here because I liked how it turned out over in this area. I just gotta clean this other stuff up. Yeah.
Do you plan on overwintering any of your pepper plants, sir?
Yes, I have one that I have overwintered. I will overwinter one of these, my Chinese giant green peppers, and then my jalapeno peppers over there. Those will be the ones that I overwinter. And I also have a cayenne that's already in the pot in the greenhouse that I've already started to overwinter. I just got to cut it back. I haven't found my pruning shears.
Can you go over real quick how you're overwintering that plant, or what you're going to do with the other ones?
So yeah, they're basically I dug the root system up and I stuck it in like it would be planted into a pot, and I'm gonna actually cut it off. Like all of this is sawdust on top with hay up underneath, and then I have dirt to like right about here. So it's all well insulated. I'm gonna probably just cut it off right here where the 4 branches come up out the ground. I haven't done it because I needed these to finish drying because I wanted them to dry on the plant so that way I could pick them off. Gotcha.
And I just know because we were talking about this last week with Cass and Jeremy from Say Mojo. We're doing it kind of based on their recommendations, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I'm doing it.
Just wanted to give them credit because we're using some of their ideas.
Yes, and I just wanted to do that. I wanted to figure out a way. So when they come over last weekend, they actually gave me information on how to overwinter it and overwinter it the right way. And by me building this greenhouse, just helped it even more.
Gotcha. All right, so now we're back behind the garden with Shannon again, standing underneath their garden shed. You want to talk to me about this?
Yeah, so this was actually supposed to be just a garden shed. It was supposed to be for my tools, and it kind of, when we decided to move, it kind of become everybody's shed. But we built this with 6 cedar posts that my husband cut down out of the woods. Like I said, I'm all about reusing stuff on our property, and so we used 6 cedar posts. We built this. The only thing that we bought was the tin and the 2x8s that wrap around it for the roof. But we did a really good job. It's really sturdy. We burned the wood and did our own sawmill.
What's that called?
Suzuki bond. That's what I call it. That's what I call it. But I mean, it looks really good. I like it. I really, honestly, truly like it. And when we get it finished, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be like one of those old rustic sheds.
It's coming together pretty good. I like it. Stephen and I just got finished putting part of that wall together. I mean, folks, you're just looking at a couple boards. You hit them with some fire, Suzuki bond and stuff, and stick them up. I mean, that's literally it. And it looks pretty good. So,
yeah.
So it's everybody's shed. What else are you doing with the shed?
It's also used for our rainwater catchment system.
How many gallons, do you know how many gallons you have that you can catch with the system?
Well, come on over here. Let's go look at it.
Trying to do 3 things at once here.
Alright, so it actually holds about 1,200 gallons of water. Now that is not nearly enough to last us, but slowly but surely we've been staying pretty steady about how much water we use, and all of the water and stuff starts up there. It runs through rain guard gutters. They are actually like foam, and it filters out most of the bigger stuff, and then it goes into the tanks. Well, we kind of had a hard time getting this thing together, and we're actually going to, once these tanks empty out, we will actually raise them up higher, because gravity is like our worst enemy right now, as far as getting water out. Like, we can get a little bit of water out, but it can only be like a foot and a half up off the ground. So we're gonna try to change that as soon as when we get a chance. We want to be able to lift it up, and really the only thing that we purchased on this was the gutters itself.
Any idea how much it's cost you so far with the gutters and the, was it 2x6s and the tin?
2x6s were free.
The 2x8s.
2x8, sorry.
I'm gonna say roughly about $800.
$800 in?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that gave us the rainwater system, the rain catchment system, plus the tin, plus the with the screws, and the 2x8s, 2x8s by 20 and 2x8s by 10s.
That was $240 just for the 2x8s.
So you said this cost you about $800 so far. What was the price on a comparable sized shed if you were to buy one?
Well, I do know if you buy a halfway decent used one, it's gonna run you, and that's like a repo. It's gonna run you probably about $3,000. But if you get a brand new, already fully done, it's gonna run you, I know, at least anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000.
Cool. Alright guys, this is a first for you. Here's the extended part of their family. You want to introduce your dogs?
Yeah, this is Lady, the oldest one with the gray on her. This Lady, this is Chelsea, and Ty. Ty is the only boy. Lady is the mama of these two other labs. They are well mannered. They love kids. I think I just added another one to the bunch.
This was yesterday's project for you guys. What's your next project after this?
We're gonna start working on, after we get the shed done, we're gonna start working on our boundary fences. We need to put a boundary fence up as far as for the dogs, and but I want to do it to a point where the wildlife can still come in, because Levi. Shh.
We're recording here, man. Respect the camera.
I don't care. He says I look cute anyways. So we want to do it to where we can still allow the wildlife and everything to come in to the property. Like, we don't want to completely fence it off 100%, but I know as far as this side, I want it fenced in, and the other side down there, I want to do some kind of fencing down there. Watch. You want to come out? No.
We're going to serve you food in there now? You got your own bowl?
Because I got people to play with. Where's Paw Patrol? Huh? Inside? Where's the doggies?
Ooey, ooey. Ooey.
Old.
What's that? Ooey.
All right, so we moved inside for a little bit of Q&A. Just so everybody knows, I provided Stephen and Shannon with the questions I'm getting ready to ask them, so they had an opportunity to think about them and have better responses. So just to go right down the list.
All right.
So where does your desire to homestead come from?
Well, both of us have we homesteaded when we were younger, and we didn't even know it. We didn't know what homestead was. We didn't have a word for it. My family has always raised chickens and gardened and
Horses and cows.
Yeah, like we've always been in that aspect growing up, but we didn't know exactly what it was that we were doing until we
we actually got into ourselves and actually started learning ourselves.
Your drive to do it now, is it in any way motivated by the last couple of years with COVID and?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it actually started along like when Gracie was 3 when she got burnt because I was using like we were using all these store-bought products for Gracie and after 43 surgeries in 3 years, the anesthesia
Say that number again?
43 surgeries.
Wow.
In 3 years. It starts messing with your body. Gracie was getting sick a lot. She just wasn't doing that good. And all I did was just start researching stuff and figuring out, what she should be eating, what was healthy for her. And that's when we actually really got into it.
When I first met you guys and started talking to you, you were just talking about Homestead. As I've been working with you and helping you, you recently decided, I don't know if it was something you decided to do to begin with, but you decided to go off-grid. What motivated that decision?
Well,
To save money. Really to save money on bills because, with this camper payment and the land payment, it's pretty pricey. I mean, the land payment's nowhere near the price of the camper, but it's just, that's one of the main things. Try to save as much money as possible for yourself rather than trying to work for the system and just keep on paying people.
Gotcha. The decision to homestead was, and you kind of covered this a little bit, was it a decision that one of you wanted to do, or did somebody have to convince the other one?
well, whenever we lived in Batesburg in our old camper, we had been talking about growing a garden and doing all this, and
Well, we wanted, let me interrupt you a minute. We wanted to grow a garden at our first house we actually set foot in after we got married. Okay?
But just a garden, not an actual homestead.
Yeah, just a garden, just to help out, with the food price. Even back then, we've been married for almost 11 years now, or 10 years. No, I forget.
That's right, man.
I think there was 11.
actually,
Camera, get it right.
I'm the one that normally gets around.
Yeah.
He's probably right. Almost 10 years. It's 10 years.
Okay, no, I think it's 11 almost.
I don't know. 10 or 11. Let's go with it.
All right, well,
It feels like 20.
it's right there. We were wanting to do, stuff, but the thing was, at the time, we were renting a piece of property. And we were limited on what we could do.
There's only so much you can.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do. Now, granted, the people we rented from, they did have their own chickens, and they actually provided us with eggs if we asked them. They actually helped out on that little aspect. But as in growing a garden, they didn't want their yard tore up or nothing like that to use for a garden.
So basically, to answer your question, we got into it whenever, it was kind of both of our ideas. Like we just.
Well, you said earlier that you both did it in your childhood. You just didn't. Nobody put a name to it, saying.
Nobody put a name to it. That's the thing. I've had a numerous size, a garden twice the size of the one we have out there. And we used to have so much produce, and that's how I grew up, gardening and doing odds and ends, stuff like that. So we never called it homesteading back years ago.
Living.
It was just living.
Basically that's what it's about.
Living and taking care of
just
yourself
normal people
and
doing the everyday thing. I mean, even way back then, they just did what they needed to do to survive or to get by.
yeah.
I think people forget about that. What resources and websites did you guys use? And we talked a little bit about this earlier. That basically, so you guys were, before you went the route that you eventually did to get the property,
Yeah.
what resources were you using?
We were using realtors and apps.
We were looking on the realtor apps,
and
a bunch of different, just calling numbers, seeing something for sale, and just call Coldwell Banker, call ERA, call this person. Just call and then ask them. Say, hey, do you have any land for sale around? You know.
And by the time Stephen would get off work, it would always be off market.
They're like, yeah, we got something over here. You can come look at it. And sure enough, I get off work and I'm on my way there to go meet the realtor. And it was sold before we got there. So, and what was happening was they were buying it just online. People were seeing it online, buying it.
Wow.
So that's how fast it was, you know, coming up for sale and getting sold. It was literally getting sold just like that.
How long were you guys dealing with that?
About 7 years.
Yep.
Okay. And so, that didn't work for you. What was the thing that worked for you to help you find this property?
Well, Thursday afternoon, I was talking to my grandfather. He's like, well, why don't you call this land broker? And so I called him. I told him where I was. And he said, yeah. He said, well, I'm going to go look at a piece of property tomorrow. I'll call you tomorrow. Well, he come and looked at this property and another property. I think it was 18 acres. And we have a video on that. And it was basically, he called me on Friday. He's like, well, which one do you want? There's 2 of them. I was like, well, can you give me till Sunday to make a decision? I was like, don't put none of them on the market till Monday. So we come out here on Saturday, and then Stephen brought me back out here on Sunday, and we had it, by Sunday night, we had it under contract. So that is the best way to go, is doing going to a land broker. Go above the realtors, because really they don't help. They're not there to help. Like maybe way back when they did, but now, no, they will not help. The
land brokers have a lot more information on the piece of property too, that the realtor does not have.
For this property, what are your short and long-term goals?
Our long-term goals is we're hoping that the property behind us comes up for sale so we can increase the size. That's our long-term goals.
Any prospects on how likely that might be?
No.
We don't know how likely, but it might. I can dream. But that would be a nice chunk. We would have over 100 acres then.
Wow.
So,
then I'm going to come knocking on your door and, hey, you want to sell me 10?
yeah.
No, our short-term goals is to finish up the shed, to continue to build the chickens up, and just to continue doing what we're doing. That's our short-term.
We need to
take it day by day.
Yeah, we need to get something of a shed that we can remove everything, because we still haven't fully moved out of our house, our prior place we were living in yet. I mean, we're getting it a little bit at a time, and our free time we're trying to get as much out as we can. But we do need some kind of a dry source of a shed.
For our furniture.
For the furniture, y'all, we got deer heads mounted on the wall. So, as y'all seen, probably we
don't know. We could put a few of them in here.
I don't know.
Alright.
But yeah, we need a dry climate control area we could put stuff so we can fully move out.
Do you have a plan for that yet, or?
No.
No, we do not. I'm wanting to do a pole building, but if we do a pole building, we need to make it big enough so we can use it later on down the road.
Gotcha.
So, and we have to be somewhat worthy of how much we spend on it, because we're still, you know, we're trying to afford this and the land and all that stuff. We don't want to overdo it.
Gotcha. So this next one's a little bit personal. I asked you guys permission before I even brought it up. So neither one of you are working full-time jobs. What is your average monthly income at the moment?
About $2,000.
So you guys are making this work off of $2,000 a month right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tight. It's tight. I'll be honest with you. The gas is what's hurting us.
Mm-hmm.
And probably this month we probably went over our budget. That's just because of the generator running.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we've been every night during the day we really don't have to run the generator because the sun's out, or we can have the windows open and it's creating heat or whatever. But at nighttime when it gets chilly, we need to run the generator. So basically it holds about 5 gallons of gas. So every night we're going through 5 gallons of gas. It'll last from, if we start it about 8:30 in the evening, it'll shut off probably about 6 or 7 in the morning. So
about 12 hours.
It's almost 12 hours of run time for the generator.
Which right now is about one night.
Yeah, so basically 5 gallons a night, and it's $20 for 5 gallons of fuel. So it adds up. It's adding up quick.
Gotcha. So viewers who are interested in what you guys are doing and following along with you, what's the best way they can help you guys?
They can always just go to our soap shops. I don't like taking money for free, but go to our soap shop. There's a donation tab. There's a you can purchase my soaps, or you could just go to the Amazon wish list. That's listed in every video that we've had.
Okay.
If somebody wants to be very generous and help us out, we would love and appreciate that.
Backtracking just a little bit, do you have any advice for someone considering buying land and creating a homestead? Something that maybe you guys have overlooked in your process that you want to make sure somebody understands before they dive in?
Well, make sure you're not in a valley.
You explain.
Like, you don't want it to rain
And all the water goes
and all the water just comes to you, because it might be dry when you go look at it. When it rains, then all of a sudden it's just gonna fill you up.
And also pay attention to the pieces of land that has been online for a long time. If it's been over 90 days, there's something wrong with that property. That
the realtor ain't telling you, or somebody's not mentioning in there.
Because people who have went out there and looked at it before, that's why they didn't buy it. It's because there's something wrong. There's something off.
Now we got asked about from one of our subscribers, and as of right now I can't remember the person's name, but there was a piece of land over in the Saluda County.
That was still for sale.
That was still for
3
sale.
years on the market.
It's been on the market for 3 years, and it's probably still for sale as to this day. And they actually emailed you about it, because they were like, "Is that the county y'all live in?" And yeah, we're like, "Yeah." And we actually went out and looked at that piece of property, and
you gotta cross. So you gotta build two bridges just to get in there.
You gotta build,
it's gullies.
It's
nothing but gullies.
It's a landlocked piece of property, and you got a right of way, so your driveway is gonna be 3/4 of a mile long, if not longer. And in the midst of getting to your piece of property, you got to cross 2 creeks, and each creek is probably at least 8 to 10 feet wide. So, and it's holding water all the time. So you got to build a bridge, and the estimate on building the bridge for that, it's just too much money. It would cost way too much money to just get into a piece of property.
I was watching a YouTube channel just last night. In fact, we're talking about things that you need to consider when buying property. Number one thing they said was access. How are you going to access a property? Who has the rights to that access? What do you need to do to improve it? How you maintain it throughout the year? Are you sharing that maintenance with somebody else? Access. Always make sure you have access.
Yeah.
Are there any specific hurdles you guys have had to overcome, or that you're still trying to overcome in getting to your end goals?
We need rocks for the driveway.
Rocks for the driveway. Access. Once again, access.
Yeah. But we're dealing with it. Granted, we have 4-wheel drive vehicles, so we can deal with it to a point. But
I would say, like the question prior is, it's money. our finances. We're just really, really tight, and that's the main thing. If we had more money, then we would be able to do more
at a quicker period and quicker time frame.
Gotcha.
It just yeah, just basically everything she said. That has a lot to do with it. You know, even getting a well. Technically, a well, you're still off grid as long as you can run it.
Yeah.
You know.
a septic system. You can still have a septic system and be off grid. A lot of people will argue to the T with me about that. And I know one person. They will argue with me saying that if you have a septic system, then you are still using public utilities. This definition of off-grid is not using public utilities. You own that septic system, so the government don't own that septic system.
Are you saying a septic system that does not flow into the septic system? That it's just...
It doesn't flow into the county.
Yeah, like it's not a city sewer. If you had city water or city septic or city waste?
Sewer, yeah.
that makes sense to me. From what I understand, most of what you're paying for the water company anyways is disposing of the water that you use.
Yeah.
I mean, a small portion of it is the cost of what you're using, but most of it is disposing of it after you're done with it.
Yep.
But a well and septic, you know, that's your own disposal.
Gotcha. Yeah,
You know.
that makes sense to me. I'm on your side.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as it's
But,
not flowing
I mean-
into a government-owned system that they have to deal with it, then no, it's not. It's off-grid.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree.
But it's just, as of right now, that's the reason why it just costs too much money right now. So that's why we decided not to do it. So
Gotcha.
we're using the rain catchment.
Understand. So, you know, I'm in South Carolina as well, and I know from watching YouTube channels and that there is a growing homesteader community in South Carolina, in North Carolina, in the mountains in particular that I know of. Do you feel supported by that community? Is there something you wish you were getting more of out of the community?
I want to say this, like, on camera, yes. But off camera, no. Now, every now and then you'll find an actual true friend that actually will be willing to help you out. Like Homesteading in Hungary, they helped us out. You have been helping us out majorly, like unbelievably, because there's a lot of stuff that I can't do that needs two men to do. But as far as extending it out further into the community, like when we reach out to other people, you know, to kind of get information, we kind of get the side shoulder, like get half of it. They won't tell us exactly. They want to just shorten the conversation and just move on. So, but yes, in a way, and no, in a way. I'm gonna say yes and no. I think I just covered it. He didn't have a comment, so.
I wasn't getting into that.
What are your favorite parts? What is it you like most about homesteading, living off grid, and living this lifestyle?
I think just bringing our kids up this way makes them more knowledgeable later on in life in case something really does happen. They have the capability to be able to survive and not have everything to survive and thrive off of.
And then they could be like, hey, yeah, remember that one time when my mom just randomly built a porch out front? Her daddy didn't help. So, I mean, that's something that they could use as to make them stronger, and they could do it. They don't need any.
The kids deer hunt. They like fishing. They're good at both.
And gardening.
They're good at all of it. So I have confidence if they were out here by themselves, they would be able to survive, even at their ages right now. I mean, apparently not Levi, because he's 2. but I mean, Courtney and Gracie, they would be able to survive.
Yeah.
Just on the knowledge they got just from us and growing up and being around me and her.
Speaking of the girls, how do they feel about this lifestyle?
Well,
Courtney loves the chickens. She loves going out to the chickens.
she cried the other day because she couldn't pick a chicken up. Like, she loves the chickens. She goes and she feeds the chickens. She takes care of the chickens. She even tells me when I need to move the chickens. And she also likes helping in the garden. Both of them like helping in the garden. Now, for a while there, the first 6 months we bought this property, Gracie didn't want to have anything to do with that garden.
I noticed that. in the summer, she was more interested in driving around in the 4-wheeler than just anything else.
Here recently, she's actually started showing interest in the garden, and I've just kind of given her space. And I believe because the last time we did a garden, we were right in the middle of harvest season, and we just had to pick up and move because she got hurt. Mm-hmm. So she didn't get to eat all the bountifulness that she helped grow. It was like, it was like, I grew all this food for nothing. Yeah. I'm just going to leave it.
How
Gracie was 3.
When she got injured?
She was 3.
Does she, how much of that so understanding how traumatic the injuries were from getting burned and everything, can she remember anything other than that? At 3 years old, that's kind of like where children start having memories. Can she
remembers the helicopter ride.
Oh yeah. Can she remember the garden?
Yeah, she remembers the garden. She remembers basically everything up to that point. Everything after that, it's like she went into this blur, and she doesn't remember a whole lot. Mm-hmm. Like, even when we moved out of the camper and into the lake house, it's like been a blur. And then when we finally moved out here full time, it's like she woke up out of it. Like, it's like honestly, I think she's a different person.
Different person, good?
Good, very good.
She's wanting to provide more of her assistance in doing things, as in just not, paying attention, or she's putting more effort into wanting to do this and wanting to do that.
Do you think maybe she feels like she owns more of it now?
I would assume so, because we're here, we're staying here, we're living here. So now she opens the door.
To do what she wants.
Yeah, we open the door and the garden's there. It's like a perfect kitchen garden, Mm-hmm. And she can go grab her hunting rifle and go over there and go deer hunting.
Like, I could literally sit right here in the kitchen and I could see her from my stand.
Yeah, we put that stand there for a purpose, just because when she goes, if we wanted to check on her, we can just look right through the window and see her. Mm-hmm. Because we have it in range. As in sight range, we can see if everything's okay over there. Mm-hmm. So that's another reason for the position of that stand. Other than being a good spot, but.
So the flip side of that previous question, what is your least favorite thing about homesteading and living this life?
The not knowing the unknown.
Not knowing what you don't know?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Not knowing if there's going to be a drought. Not knowing if the gardens are going to go to crap because he doesn't have water. Not knowing if just not knowing the unknown. Not knowing what's going to happen.
Steven, same thing? Or?
Well, we got water, if you think about it. We got the little...
That's not going to last long in current conditions.
No, it ain't. But for the most part, for the fall area and winter, it's going to stay damp and moist. So you're pretty much going to be on the heads up level. You're going to be constantly growing something. In the spring and the summer, we'll get some rain in the spring. Summertime, it's usually in the evenings or sometimes not even at all for months. It was like this past summer. It didn't rain for like 2 months.
We were talking about your rain catchment system. I'm pretty sure you told me how many thousands of gallons it was. Do you remember?
It's 1,200
1,200 gallons? Do you have any intention of expanding that?
Yes.
I know you said you're going to elevate it, but
Yes,
Yeah,
we're going to expand it.
Matter of fact, what was it, our second night staying here? We were on the way back from the lake house with a load of stuff in the vehicle. And it wasn't raining the whole time. As soon as we get over here, it was torrential downpour.
Yeah.
I never seen it rain so hard in my life. I mean, it rained, and I kid
stepped
you not.
out of the car into good 6 inches of water at the end of the driveway down there.
well,
It was raining so bad, and there is, like, if anybody's familiar with campers, there is little gutters on each corner of the camper, like little rain shoot off little things. And them things were shooting off the side of the camper, and they were hitting the ground about 15 feet away from the camper. That's how far it was. I mean, the piece is only about 4 inches long. And from the pressure of the rain just coming down and running down that little track, it was shooting. It was a stream of water probably about 1 inch in diameter. And it was hitting 15 feet away from the camper on all 4 corners.
wow.
And you know, usually it's just dripping or running a few feet, you know what I mean? But other than that, we were also talking about doing rain catchment off the roof of the camper. On all 4 corners of it, because of how much rain we've seen come off of it.
Sorry.
You're good.
I can get quiet in here. Is there an origin story to May God Bless You as He Has Us?
Okay. That is something that I started. Because God blesses you in good ways and He blesses you in bad ways. Sometimes looking back on it, you realize why He did what He did or why He blessed you that way. But when you're going through it, you don't see it as a blessing until you look backwards and say, "May God bless you like He has us." That's why I say that, because God has blessed us, even though when we were right in the middle of our struggling and all of our heated, I guess not heated moments, but our troubles with, as far as Gracie getting burned and the struggle from
Me losing my job.
Yep, him losing his job and all that. I mean, you look back on it and it's just a blessing.
We literally went down to nothing. Like, we had $100 in the bank account. That's it. And I, out of the blue, got a job within 2 days from
Yeah,
then.
we had to hurry up and move because we only had $100 in the bank. I was scared that DSS was going to come take Gracie because she had just got burned.
Whose fault's that?
Mine, but I'm cold. No, I don't want you in
I'm
my
cold.
blanket. You're wasting your minutes.
You got a timer on 29 minutes?
No.
You better.
So after some minor technical difficulties, do either of you have a specialized role? Does one person do one thing, the other person does something else, or?
We do things together. Like, he's the muscles and I'm the brains. Like,
Thanks a lot.
he thinks about it. Like, when we're doing a project, he likes to think about it beforehand.
Mhm.
But when I'm doing a project, I think on the go. So when something is not working right in his favor, I can automatically think of something quickly to get it done the right way and to get the job actually finished. You agree with that?
Somewhat. I can think quick too, but I just like to plan it out just so we have less time messing with something rather than I try
Fail
to
to plan, plan to fail.
Yeah, I try to use time very wisely.
See, like yesterday.
So it's not wasted time.
Well, yesterday, we tore down the dog pen and got the dogs over here. Well, while I went in there and I took the dog pen apart, and he was burning limbs. He was helping his dad clean up and all that. So instead of me just standing there with my hands in my pockets, not doing anything, I think we actually got a lot accomplished yesterday.
Yeah, we did get a lot accomplished. Just because of the role of what I was doing compared to what you were doing. Yeah. And what she was doing was easy. And then we were done burning everything by the time all the heavy stuff needed to happen.
Yeah. We all know the results of that.
So this question caused problems before before our technical difficulties. Do you feel you have any skills you need to learn to better the homestead? Great, Stephen.
Go ahead and say it.
What?
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
organization?
yes.
There you go.
Organization is a big thing. Woodworking, and I also want to learn more about gardening and grow my gardening knowledge. Or gardening skills.
Which we do very well at gardening. I mean, it's not like we're,
We're not doing bad,
We're
but
doing
there's
good.
other ways to...
I mean, first year garden on the first piece of property we just bought back in January, that thing thrived like crazy, yo.
We couldn't...
We had so many vegetables, it was... We couldn't eat... I mean, we got a lot in the freezer still. Like, granted, it's not here, but it's still in the freezer.
Yeah.
I mean... So, actually, we're doing very well with gardening, honestly. I mean, I got a decent amount of knowledge in landscaping background, so I know a lot of knowledge about different kind of soil quantities and soil and nitrogen and all that stuff. I have a lot of knowledge in that, so that probably helps out a bit, but in what we do. But I don't sit there and talk about it on our channel, about the landscaping background I got. Just because, I'm over that stage and I don't really I don't care to go back to landscape. I mean, I like doing it and helping people do it, but I mean, as in doing it for myself, I don't want to do it.
So what I'll say about that is that working with you, I have felt that there are things that we're doing that your knowledge or your experience, you know what you're doing, and I'm just kind of following along, and I really don't know what it is we're doing or why. You usually get to it at some point. My comment is that you're not putting it on the video. Maybe you want to put it on the video so people understand why it is that you're doing things. See what I'm getting at?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
She's not videotaping me.
I have had situations where we're doing stuff and I don't, just in the heat of the moment, don't really ask many questions, just get the job done. But at some point, you usually come back and tell me what it is we're doing and why we're doing. General comment. Try to get that stuff in the video because that's important. Right? That's just as important as seeing what you guys are doing is understanding why you're doing it.
Yeah. Did you hear that, John?
Well, you know how to operate the camera.
Point and click.
Point and go beep.
Exactly.
I'll try to do better at that.
So, as you're gardening, do you have any plans with trying to follow any specific gardening type? Raised beds, no dig, back to Eden, permaculture?
Yeah, we're gonna try to do a little bit of everything. We're gonna try to do it, I guess, slowly. I really want to dip into the wood chip method because I really
back to Eden, by the way.
Yeah, I really liked what you've done and the results that come out of your little 0.2 of an acre.
Just what it has, the back of Eden method, with the wood chips, like you were saying, and what I knew, it holds moisture. So that helps out on watering. You know, you water it maybe once, and it might last 3 or 4 weeks before you.
So you got that humongous rain.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I don't know that it ever made it into the video that we were talking about. That my garden, where we were standing looking at that pile of wood chips behind the yard. When it rained hard, I used to get a literal river flow from there down to the side of my house, and it would pull dirt with it. It would create a mudslide, as much as you can put a mudslide on a sidewalk, but it would create a mudslide across the sidewalk where it's dragging all that dirt out of the garden from all the way to the back of the house, all the way to the front of the house. But by doing the wood chips, you got that giant rain you were talking about, the water was going out of the corners of the camper, it will hold a lot more of that. Right?
Yeah.
So the wood chips themselves will suck up some of that moisture, and then just in between the wood chips, the surface tension of the wood chips tends to hold on to more water as well, right? And so the deeper that those wood chips are, the more benefit you're going to get, the more water it's going to hold. Sidebar. Squirrel.
Squirrel.
Where?
I don't got my pellet rifle, so I don't know.
The chicken coop. You built the chicken coop a couple weeks ago. You finally got chickens on this property.
Yeah.
Not as many as we want, but I mean, for a start, that's what we got for a start.
Do you have plans for other animals?
Yes, we do.
What's the next thing you plan to bring onto the property?
Probably some pigs.
So pigs is going to require a little bit of infrastructure. You can't just bring them on the property and say stay.
I'll keep the dogs to keep them herded up.
Yeah, that's why I had said something about the fences. Fences being, or the boundaries being our next project.
You're gonna bring pigs on. Are they gonna do extra work in the system for you, or
They're gonna start clearing the pine trees out.
Gotcha.
That is our purpose of those pigs coming in.
Hopefully it keeps.
And eating them.
Yeah, hopefully it don't. Hopefully we don't have a coyote problem with the pigs. Now, granted, pigs are pretty tough animals, so they can pretty much take care of it themselves. But hopefully we don't have. The other night we had, I would probably say 30 coyotes out here.
Really?
And I was outside the camper, and they literally come running across the pasture right here.
Wow.
And I was within 50 feet from them.
I told him just to tell Gracie to grab the daggone shotgun and just start blowing them away.
But it was so dark, and I had my headlamp on, and I was like, there's eyes, there's eyes, there's eyes, and the eyes were just showing, and they were darting through there. So yeah, we do have a lot of predator problems.
But luckily
they haven't really got to our animals yet. And hopefully the dogs, last night we did not hear not one coyote. And this is the first night our dog's been on the property. So hopefully that will deter them. Because the dogs are pretty decent sized dogs. So.
Well, so I didn't realize there was that many coyotes out here. I mean, 3 versus 30.
In the Midlands, we actually heard it on the news the other day. In the Midlands of South Carolina, there's been more coyote sightings, and we actually thought that it was open season on coyotes all the time in the past years. But they actually just recently said that there is an actual open season on coyotes. You can hunt coyotes all year long because of the coyote population. It's actually getting into the towns. It's getting overpopulated.
So my next question is have you eaten coyote?
No, we're not eating coyote.
Back to the animals. Do you have any plans for rotational grazing?
Well, when the pigs come into place, then yes. The chickens, they will be rotated around this little pasture, however many times it needs it.
for the size pen you got, you can go back and forth in this property area numerous amount of times. We've already did move the chickens already. How many times since we had the chickens? The chickens were over there. Now they're back here, right behind us.
Probably about maybe 10 times.
Yeah, we kind of moved the chicken. We moved them like every other day, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, every 2 days we move them. Now, granted, this time of year, you know, the grass ain't really doing the greatest because the temperature and fall time, it don't really thrive, but it's doing good. I mean, for what we got, it ain't planted grass. It's just weeds, yeah, and winter rye.
Weeds.
Do you plan on putting any grains out there to help with feed or for you guys?
Oats.
Like, no, we're not gonna be harvesting grain. Like we could plant some like hay. We could plant hay out there and just let the chickens have it or whatever animals we get, but most of it will be mowed down because I cannot stand tall grass.
Plans for a cow anytime?
Way down the line.
Yeah, there ain't enough property here and enough grass.
We want to
right
be
now.
able to, at least, what's it called? Cut. It's not clear cut. What happens before the clear cut?
Thin.
Yeah, we're gonna at least thin the trees before we get a cow. We want to at least thin the trees so that way we can see
And
through the trees.
we want to be able to, you know, because a cow ain't gonna have not much to eat. You know, this is just like an acre and a half right here where we're sitting at in the grass pasture. It's like an acre and a half. The cow would not be able to survive without feeding them a numerous amount of hay and silage.
So prior to, with the rotational grazing between the pigs and the chickens, help build up the soil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then thin out the trees and help prepare to bring you on a cow.
Yeah.
So you have some trees planted out there, fruit trees. What do you have planted out there so far?
Apples, peaches, and pears, and what's the other one over there on the other side? It's not a plum.
Which one?
The one over on that side by the burn barrel.
I just said it the other day. Brain took a
Okay.
fig.
Fig tree. So yeah, like we that's what's on there now is fig trees.
Well, we had 2 fig trees, and one of them took a kapooey, so I just pulled it out of the ground, and we still have 1 fig tree.
We have peach trees, we have apples, and we have pears.
Plan on planting any other fruit trees
Not right now.
in the future?
Yeah, in the future,
Well,
yes.
we got to replace 2 because 2 of them passed away. 2 of them went goodbye, so we're gonna replace them too.
We're gonna and as we widen this area, because we're gonna have to take trees out to finish this shed build, and whatever else we're gonna build with the wood off the land. As we widen it, we will plant more trees.
Yeah, because we want to keep them spaced so they're not right on top of each other, so you got room so the tree can actually grow its full width. And that's how we have them set up where they're at now. For the width this way, for the rows, and the distance apart, we got them pretty much right in the middle of the range they said to put them. I think that on the ticket it said between 15 and 25 feet, so we put them 20 feet apart.
Are they miniatures or are they full size trees?
They're full size trees.
Full size. So this camper's gonna have to be moved when they start taking off. I mean, they already started growing throughout the summer here because we planted them before in the spring. So they already took root and they're growing. The ones that are still alive out there, they're growing.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, they are getting bigger from when we put them in there.
So I've run out of questions, but one. I do have one more to ask you guys. We talked about this last weekend. It's no secret to your audience if they've been watching for a while that you're diabetic, correct?
Yep.
Type 1 diabetic. You have difficulty keeping your blood sugar up, correct?
Well, mainly it's because all the work effort I do. That's mainly.
Actually.
So, before you get too far into it, my question is how has that impacted your getting the homestead started and the work that you're doing on the homestead?
It slows it down a little bit. I mean, for the most part, I can comprehend even when it's a lower number. For the most part. Now, granted, that day it was lower than what the thing says.
Some more.
Compared to what I felt like, it didn't feel like that. I just had my mind set on trying to get this thing done and getting it done and getting it over with because I couldn't get that thing. But it does slow it down a little bit, you know, just stopping to do this and stopping to do that.
So, we're talking about it being a problem, or I'm asking about whether it is a problem or not. People who are watching might not understand why it's an issue. So, I want to ask Shannon this question because she's the one that experiences it, not you. Well, let me rephrase that. You experience it, but
On a different end.
in the moment, from what I'm looking at,
Yeah.
you don't seem to understand it. So Shannon, the last week when we experienced it, you came over. You came over because you had heard or sensed something was not right. What is it? What is it that cues you in that something's going? I'm sorry. Let me backtrack again. When his blood sugar is low, what does he experience? What happens?
When his blood sugar is low, when it gets below a certain point, you will start to see repetitiveness. And him, like last week, he was running the chainsaw and he just could not. He was just having trouble getting it through there, and like he was repeating himself, repeating his words. Saying, like, I was talking to him about his sugar and he was talking to me about the chainsaw, the board is bowed, the chainsaw won't go through it. Like his mind was stuck. His mind gets stuck in that position. So it's hard for me whenever he's doing something and his sugar drops, it's hard for me to get him to stop doing that to eat something. There's been many a times when we have been out there working and everything's fine. We're all fine. We're drinking. We're making sure that we have sugar in us, or carbs or whatever. And then it'll just drop. And when it drops, sometimes I can catch it. I can catch it. I can give him something. But a lot of the times when his sugar drops, it gets to a point where I can't do anything. I can't give him nothing to drink. Like, he's just out of it. He's like he's actually in a diabetic coma. So that's when I have to get my glucose shots and I have to give him a shot. There's been many times that we have been out here that I've had to give him a shot. The day that we first moved this camper on this property, his sugar was fine. We ate lunch. Everything was good. When we finally got here on this property and he got out the truck, his sugar just dropped like that. And it also has to do with your feelings and your blood pressure. And it all goes into one. Whenever he is mad or angry, his sugar will go sky high. But whenever he gets that sigh of relief, that sigh, like the other day when we brought the camper here, we're home, or that's it. We don't have to do anything else. It's like a sigh of relief, and then his blood sugar just drops like because the irritation and the aggravation has been feeding his sugar for so long, and has been keeping it up. Whenever there's nothing to do, it just drops.
Do you have any feeling for what the science is behind that? So when what I'm hearing is when you're stressed out, your sugar stays elevated. And then when everything's cool and your body starts to relax, that's when your sugar falls out of the bottom.
Yep.
Do you know or understand anything of what's happening chemically inside your body that causes that?
No, I do not.
And it's always been like that. Even with my dad's a type 2. He's stressed and overworked. It's sky high. But now and that he's not working, it's normal.
I mean, I still stay stressed a little bit, just trying to keep this place halfway decently clean.
You're trying to change the subject.
No, I'm not. But
So kind of back to the original question, how does that impact you guys here on the homestead?
It's hard. I feel that it's hard sometimes because I'm always thinking, making sure that he's good, that he's taken care of, the kids are taken care of, making sure that everything is going on the property smoothly. Because if something falls out of whack, Steven's out there working and his sugar drops, then I gotta stop whatever I'm doing with the kids or whatever I'm doing in the garden and go take care of him. It's hard, but we always manage.
So I'm trying to think of ways to help or advise or give you information or ways to help. But so my concern is for you, Stephen, is that so when this all went down last weekend, you're playing with a chainsaw.
oh yeah,
You're playing with a chainsaw, and
I'm still to the point of knowing what not to do, and
But it's not okay.
I know it's not okay, but I still know what not to do to get hurt. You know what I'm saying? I still have the knowledge, and I'm still at that point.
But
If I wasn't at that point, I can tell you right now, if I wasn't at that point, I wouldn't even touch a chainsaw. Because and the reason why I know I would say that, and how I know that I could say that to you, to say I'm not going to do that, is because just how many years I've had it. So I know how my body reacts. I mean, if it's to the point of where my eyes blacken in and out, because if your blood sugar drops to a point your eyes are blacking out, and you get like black spots in your eyes you can't see, that's to the point of getting to so low that you're fixing to pass out. Okay, and I was nowhere near that stage yet, so I was comprehending of what was going on. It's just I just know that I knew what was going on. It's just I get mad. The reason why I get mad because everybody overreacts about it, and all I need to do is eat something. But that's I understand where you're. How many minutes?
29, isn't it?
29.
So we're backtracking just a little bit here, guys, because we're once again a couple technical difficulties. But so to fill you guys in with the situation that we were dealing with last week, Stephen was using a chainsaw in the sawmill. He was having difficulty getting past a knot in the tree that we were trying to mill lumber out of, and could not get past this knot, and we couldn't see anything that was hitting. So, but at any rate, Shannon comes running across the property out of nowhere, with her sixth sense that there was something going on, and kept asking Stephen, or kept telling Stephen that he needs to eat something because his blood sugar is too low. And Stephen kept saying, "Oh no, it's got nothing to do with the board," and Shannon and I were looking at each other like, clearly it has nothing to do with the board. You just need to eat. Just put something in your mouth and eat. And Stephen would refuse to actually eat. And so you guys missed a rather funny interaction. I'm sorry we can't recreate it for you.
It was, but all we can do is laugh. That's all we can do is laugh.
But so me trying to help you guys and outside looking in. Have you come up with any kind of way for? I mean, Stephen, you sounded drunk, right? You would not listen to reason. You were like a dog with a bone, and you wouldn't let go. You refused to eat. You refused to eat. You refused to drink anything. So, is there anything that you guys have discovered that might help break through that hard-headedness when that happens?
I get hard-headed a little
Whenever
bit.
that happens.
That wasn't a little bit, man. That was.
I do.
Whenever that happens, the only thing that you really can do is try to make fun about it, because sometimes when his sugar goes low, he acts like a teetotal goofball, like no joke.
Well, so guys, if you can imagine Shannon standing in front of Stephen, yelling up to him like this, "Don't make me get the needle!"
Or opening up the daggum dumbbell cake and saying, "Here, I don't want this. Eat it."
And also, just looked like a little bit trying to trick him. Like
It was.
Like Levi comes walking up and say, "Hey, Levi, here," and hand it to Levi and say, "Give some to Dad."
It was. Or I had Courtney bring me gummies and the cakes out there, and I'd be like, "Hand them to Dad. Those are Dad's." I mean, that's.
So part of the reason why I brought any of this up.
You gotta be tricked. You gotta use your tricks. You gotta be on the sly.
And, I wanted to bring this up specifically and for your viewers to see and know and understand just how big a problem this can be for you guys. Because, like I said, Stephen, you're using a chainsaw and all of a sudden something sticks, right? You say that you're experienced enough that you know what not to do. But
yeah, I mean, I know if I'm getting to be to the point of no return, I ain't gonna mess with nothing.
Now, sometimes there will be a point. That's why I get in and I try to learn how to use every piece of equipment, everything that is on this property. Because at some point, I want to be able to flip the switch and turn it off if I need to. And
so.
She knows how to run the chainsaw.
Being in the industry, in the service industry, as long as I have, sounds like she's the supervisor.
I am. I am the supervisor. I'm the boss. I'm the head cheese. And
the supervisor needs to know how to do everything that's going on out there, so if she can replace it or fix it or turn it off or save somebody from
getting hurt.
What's for supper?
Leftovers.
Anyways, I just wanted to talk to you guys about that. I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
It's not a secret on the channel.
No, it ain't. We conversate. Nobody really asks us the question, but yeah, it does.
It affects.
It does affect, time frames of getting stuff done, because if I need to eat something, it just takes time out of the time frame. Somebody that ain't diabetic, they can just go all day and not eat nothing.
Like me.
You know what I mean? She can go all day and not eat a dang thing, and she's perfectly fine and raring to go and nonstop. I can't do that. That's another thing with my situation. Technically I'm supposed to eat at least 3 meals a day, and half the time I don't even do that.
Mm-hmm. So we were talking about it last week that I'm also diabetic. I'm type 2 diabetic. And what a pair we make that you're struggling to keep your sugar up and I'm struggling to keep my sugar down. I don't know. An interesting dynamic, I think.
It is.
You were talking about the 3 meals. I know from learning about me being diabetic that they say that it's good to have a routine.
Yeah, you need to have
do a routine and you eat your meals the same time every day.
Well, see, we have been in such a.
That never happens.
Okay, we have been in such a busted amount of work and moving, and we don't have a routine.
That's
Our
the problem.
routine left this when we got this property, it left.
So
Because-
have you had more problems since you had the property because of that? Do you think that's part of what causes those issues?
I don't think I had more problems. No, honestly.
I mean, I'm not saying that you do.
No,
I honestly don't know.
if he, like,
I think my blood sugar has been doing better since we've been on this property.
like when we've been living here.
Since you actually moved on to the
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I would have low blood sugars throughout the night.
I would think that
sometimes.
now that you're here, you could actually have a little bit more control, a little bit
Yeah.
more stability, more regularity.
But the only thing that we struggle with right now, because we're trying to get so much stuff before it gets dark done,
Is eating supper
is
at a
eating
time.
supper at the same time every night. Because technically, being a diabetic, like everybody's supposed to know, you're supposed to eat breakfast at the same time every day. You're supposed to eat lunch at the same time every day. You're supposed to eat supper at the same time every day. And
breakfast
if
is
you
pretty much
have a brunch or you have something a snack, you're supposed to have that at the same time every day. It can't vary 2 or 3 minutes from the next day. It needs to be, if you're going to have your snack at 9 o'clock after your breakfast at 6 o'clock, you need to have your snack at 9 o'clock. No, not 9:02, not 9:03, 9 o'clock.
And so the reason for that is because you're trying to keep your blood sugar levels at a constant level.
Yep, and when you take your insulin, which I take insulin,
You gotta take insulin 45 minutes prior to eating.
I got to take my insulin 45 minutes before I eat anything. So if I eat my breakfast at 6 o'clock, I need to wake up, make sure I'm awake up an
About
hour,
5:15.
5 o'clock, so I can get up, get dressed or whatever, and then take my medicine and then eat breakfast and wait till 6 o'clock to eat breakfast before I eat. I can't just take my medicine and eat because
That's what
affects-
causes the problem.
that's what causes the problems if I don't wait that 45 minutes, because it affects the reaction time of that, because you got a fast reacting insulin, you got a slow reacting insulin. The fast reacting insulin works within 30 to 45 minutes. So you want that fast reacting insulin to actually hit yourself in your body to start reacting and dropping your sugar before you start taking that first bite of food.
Gotcha.
Just so if you don't do that and you let it, if you eat right after you take your insulin, then your test is going to go higher from what it is, and then it ain't going to do nothing but bring your blood sugar back down to what it started with before you ate. Now, if you do it the other way, your blood sugar is actually going to drop from where you're at, and then you're going to eat to bring it back up to where it was at. And you want to do that rather than have it go up and then come flying back down.
Well, and for the past week, he's been forgetting to take his medicine 45 minutes prior to supper, because we don't know when supper is. So whenever he does that, he actually takes way less medicine when he goes to eat, so that way it doesn't have an effect on him overnight. And that's one things that the other day when we were outside doing the chainsaw, like, that didn't bother me. My hardest time is whenever he's asleep.
Because you don't know what he's doing and you don't have any indicators of what's going on.
Yeah, like, I will, like, whenever I wake up, if he starts to sweat and he's cold, that means I just need to automatically go over there and grab the shot. I don't even need to test the sugar. I don't need to look at him, because if I look at him, his eyes are wide open. He looks like he's dead.
Really?
Yeah, when we first, I'm sorry, honey, but when we first got together and he had one of those spells with me, I didn't know what the heck to do. I had to call his dad and his best friend down the road, and they had to come there at 3 o'clock in the morning just to revive him. Like, I didn't know what the heck to do. He never showed me how to use the thing. So
That might be a little bit of male pride right there.
Yeah, probably.
it is. He didn't want to, like, when we first started dating, I didn't know that the reasons why he was going out there before supper, going out to his truck, was to take his medicine. Until I finally just asked him. I was like, why do you go out there every night before you eat supper? He's like, well, I'm going to take my medicine. And I'm like, well, for what? He's like, I'm a diabetic. Well, by that time, I didn't fall in love with him, and I can't just kick him to the curb. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do?
Hang on.
Sorry, I had to make a joke. Alright, but
Well, I'm out of questions. Is there anything else you guys want to finish off with or tell people?
y'all go check our wish list out and go check out our soap channel. And like I always say, may God bless y'all like He has blessed us. And we will see y'all on the next one.
I thank you guys for your time. I thank you for your information. And I thank you for letting me come to your property and help you out and learn.
Well,
You're quite welcome.
we hope that you learned something.